We are closing in on the NFL playoffs, but which team will be the last one in each conference? To find out the answer to that question and many more, I bring in Cliff Brown, our NFL writer. Cliff, I want to ask you, from your perspective right now, with 3 games remaining in the NFL season, a couple teams we kind of thought would be locks to make the playoffs, the Bears and the Steelers, seem to be in trouble. Which team do you think is going to be the last one in each of the 2 conferences?
Well, I'll start with the AFC. I believe that the Steelers will be the last team in. They suffered a really bad loss to San Diego last week, but Ben Roethlisberger is back. We know this team has a lot of experience. They have a huge game with the Bengals still left on their plate, the Steelers do, but I always like the Steelers in big spots over the Bengals. So until that's proven otherwise, I'll go with the Steelers. The NFC picture is much more cloudy, much more exciting. As far as the last team getting in, I'm going to go out on somewhat of a limb and say that it's going to be the Redskins. I just feel that I like teams in December that are building momentum. The Redskins certainly are currently riding a 4-game winning streak. I have a good feeling, or just in my gut feel, that Robert Griffin III is going to play against the Browns, and even if he doesn't, I could still see the Redskins winning that game. And I just like the way the Redskins are playing. They have the look of a playoff team. I think they're going to get past other contenders, maybe like the Bears, to get in as a wild card. I like the Redskins getting in.
You know, head coach is obviously under a lot of pressure in this league, and we know some guys are definitely going to be gone at the end of this season. Could be as many as 10 openings here. So who are some of the top candidates for these openings, and is there any chance we're going to see a return of Nick Saban to the NFL?
Well, starting with who could be coming into the league, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with a guy like Chip Kelly, University of Oregon. He seems to be the hot name among the college coaching ranks, who's never been an NFL coach, who seems to be on a lot of teams' short lists. And he's an offensive guy, innovative offensive guy in college, and there's a lot of argument about whether his system would work in the NFL or not. But if he wants to come to the NFL, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to get an opportunity. He almost took the Buccaneers job last year. I think maybe the Eagles or the Chargers might be 2 teams to go after him once the season ends. So if Chip Kelly wants into the NFL, he'll be able to get in. There's also a lot of hot coordinators right now. Mike McCoy, the offensive coordinator in Denver, he's getting a lot of interest for the job that he's done since he's been there. Last year, he really changed their offense completely once they made the move to Tim Tebow at quarterback. And then, of course, this year with Peyton Manning, they're running a much different system. And he's shown a lot of versatility that is attracting coaches or organizations around the league. So McCoy's name's out there. But there are other guys, Dirk Cutter of the Falcons, another assistant who could be hot. So there's plenty of guys, I think, on the radar of different teams. Curry Fuhrell, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, is going to be a really volatile coaching carousel, because I think at least 4 or 5 jobs will be open, and it could even get up to 8 or 10.
Now, speaking of coaching volatility, obviously, and offensive coordinators, the Baltimore Ravens, strong start to the season. They've been struggling a little bit lately, and on the offensive end. Now Cam Cameron is gone. Jim Caldwell's going to run the offense for those guys. Was that a smart move or a panic move, or how do you see that move the Ravens made?
I don't think it's a panic move for the Ravens to fire Cam Cameron. It's something that had been talked about and kind of brewing for almost a year. Even at the end of last season, I think the Ravens thought long and hard about doing it. And one reason they brought in Jim Caldwell is he's a guy who has had a relationship with quarterbacks that has been positive, mostly in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning. Jim Caldwell certainly knows what a Hall of Fame quarterback looks like and certainly how to attack offenses. And I think that since he's been in Baltimore, Caldwell and Flacco have established a really good rapport. I don't think the rapport between Flacco and Cameron was what Flacco wanted, and I think there were times where there may have been some friction with Flacco wanting to throw the football more and Cameron maybe not being willing to allow Flacco to do that. However, now since this change has been made, there's certainly pressure on Caldwell and Flacco to produce. When you fire offensive coordinator 3 games before the regular season ends on a team that looks like it's going to go to the playoffs, that means they can no longer blame Cam Cameron for their offensive failures.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to watch Flacco. He certainly started off the year pretty well. It looked like he'd taken that next step, and then now it just appears that he hasn't. And a guy like that I also think of is Matt Ryan. It appears that he has taken a step forward. His team is 11-2. I know they were certainly disappointed with the loss to Carolina, but they are 11-2. Yet people still I get the feeling that there aren't a lot of true believers in the Atlanta Falcons. What's your take on that team? Should we believe in these guys?
Count me as a non-believer. The Falcons, I think, are a good football team, but we've seen this before, them winning a lot of regular season games, not being able to back it up once the playoffs begin. Matt Ryan's 0-3 in the playoffs during his career, as is the head coach, Mike Smith. Also, 4 of the last 5 years, the number 1 seed in the NFC has lost its first playoff game. So if the Falcons do end up as the number 1 seed, recent history suggests that's not a good spot to be in. I think the Falcons people have a few more answers for their offense. Their defense is not dominant, doesn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. And I think in the playoffs, they're going to run into another hot quarterback, whether it be Eli Manning or Aaron Rodgers or someone like that, that's going to take them out of there.